The thing that makes this story unbelievable is that it's all perfectly legal, sanctioned by the courts and approved by judges. Tonight we bring you more on our Fox 5 investigation and another outrageous guardianship story with some faces you may recognize from our first story. Would you want your mother treated like that? We first introduced you to Sam Rousman in our investigation last month exposing allegations of guardianship abuse.
The court may have made him my guardian, but he has made himself God.
NASA Supreme Court appointed Sam Rousman Esther's guardian 9 months ago.
It's locked.
She claims he locked her out of her apartment, canceled her credit cards, and put her in this nursing home against her will. She says his control over her money whittled her life savings from $235,000 to a little more than $43,000.
He knows how he's making his money. He should be ashamed of himself.
And after Esther appeared in our story, we learned she's not the only person who considers herself a victim of Sam Rousman.
I had an aide from Catholic Charities 4 hours a day.
This is 80-year-old Lillian Rubian, who's been living in this home in Queens for almost 4 decades, and she's been alone most of it. But when Lillian ended up in North Shore Hospital because she wasn't feeling well, she says hospital officials wouldn't release her unless a guardian was appointed. And despite these letters from Lillian's personal physician of many years, as well as an independent court evaluator who both recommended to the courts that Lillian didn't need a guardian, a judge appointed one anyway. And Lillian had no idea what she was in store for. The man the court appointed as Lillian's guardian is lawyer William Brike.
Brike, I think, is an idiot.
They are harsh words, but you might understand why once you learn what's happened to Lillian and how quickly this complete stranger depleted Lillian's $330,000 nest egg and how Sam Rousman plays a part in all the spending.
9 months later, she was worth $110,000 less.
That's right. In less than a year, guardian William Brike spent a third of Lillian's life savings. And the unbelievable part is that it's all legal.
I know where there's bad stuff happening in the law, and this is a sewer.
This is Bert Hirsch and his wife Martha. You might think of them as Lillian's guardian angels. You see, they're the reason Lillian has any money left today.
We had wanted to bring this to media attention back when we first learned of all this a number of months ago.
Martha Hirsch is a clinical social worker and her husband is a lawyer. They met Lillian in North Shore Hospital where she told them all about her guardianship nightmare.
I felt that she was not incapacitated, that she is able to take care of her own needs and financial needs. She had done it in the past, and she could do it now with some help, and I was willing to help.
Martha petitioned the court to take over Lillian's guardianship for free. And when Martha and her husband began reviewing all the bills to Lillian's estate, they say what they discovered made them furious.
It's an absolute disgrace.
Just take a look at all the people billing Lillian. It starts with her guardian, William Brike, who charged $195 an hour for his time. He hired Sam Rousman, who also billed at $195 an hour as a social worker. Sam Rousman hired another social worker for $195 an hour to work underneath him. She then hired caregivers for as much as $500 a day to take care of Lillian. And when Brike needed a lawyer to represent him in Lillian's guardianship proceedings, the courts allowed him to be his own attorney at another cost of $195 an hour. And this billing is just the tip of the iceberg.
The social work billing by Mrs. Rousman, which it amounts to almost $19,000 in a period of 6 months.
And Lillian says she only ever met Rousman in person twice in the hospital and never saw him again. And on August 14th of last year, Brike, Rousman, and the whole gang appeared in court to request permanent guardianship. And it cost Lillian a load of money.
It cost Lillian Rubian $14,000 for 1 day in court.
For 3 hours.
And the outrageous billing didn't end there. Rousman hired a cleaning lady who charged Lillian $2,000 to clean her house. Interestingly, it was the same cleaning lady who billed Esther $2,500 to clean her apartment.
Martha refused to pay the bill because we knew what was going on.
But Rousman says it was all approved by the courts and all legitimate because Lillian's house hadn't been cleaned and maintained for years. And even more shocking spending. The court ordered Bright to take almost $7,000 from Lillian to prepay for a funeral plan.
Mrs. Rubian doesn't want the plan.
In fact, Lillian says she's already paid for her own funeral arrangements. She didn't need a second funeral. We had some tough questions for William Bright. You were trusted with her life savings, Mr. Bright, her entire life savings. Would you personally go and spend this much money? If you had $330,000 to live off your entire life, would you go out and spend $110,000 in 9 months?
That was necessary. That was a necessary level of care in order to maintain Mrs. Rubian in the community.
I'm sure people look at it differently. Can you understand people looking at it and thinking that this might be guardianship abuse?
I don't think it's guardianship abuse because it would be difficult to say that, given that at every step in this proceeding, the court was very much aware of what was happening here.
We also tracked down Sam Rousman. Mr. Rousman, Lillian Rubian is accusing you of fraudulently billing her, not giving her the services that you claim in your billing you provided.
There was a guardian involved in that case who hired us to provide services, and those services were provided. I have no further statement.
And speaking of Sam Rousman, a few weeks after our story aired about Esther Varon, Rousman resigned as her guardian, and guardianship was restored to her 2 children.
Well, what happens from here, every night is going to be Saturday night. I'm going to have a good time with my family. And of course, Mary, I will always be indebted and grateful because you're the one that helped me. I couldn't have done it without you.
While Rousman is no longer Esther's guardian, a judge has to agree on how much money Rousman is still owed from her estate. Rousman tells me he's proud of the way he handled both cases and that everything he did was approved by the courts. He also sent us this statement regarding Lillian Rubian. It says in part, due to the complexity and difficulty servicing Miss Rubian, and to safely maintain her at home, it became necessary to expend an inordinate amount of time handling this matter. In the meantime, thanks to the Hirsches, a judge has officially put Lillian back in control of her own life, but it's not over yet. Bright, who was paid $3,600 as part of his commission, says he is owed even more money, and a judge has now set aside another $50,000 of Lillian's life savings until Bright submits his final bill. I'm Mary Garafello.